think there's a misperception that writing is just an inborn talent that you have or you don't, and it actually is a lot of hard work, which can be fun, but definitely requires a lot of practice. And there's ways that we can make this more easy and more understandable for students, especially international students.
Professors often work with peers in the classroom, but they don't specifically train tutors to have a specific writing knowledge. So we thought this would be a fun way to sort of start that ball rolling here at Lund.
Throughout my university degree, no one had ever sat down with me and actually told me how to write effectively. So I was just left to my own devices.
Academic writing is important to teach because, of course, it's nobody's first language. So that even goes for if you're writing in your first language. It's still a skill that you must learn.
So Ladaea trained the tutors in how to help each other with their writing. These are students who'd been through the program themselves. They're 1 year into the program, so they had been through the same thing the previous year.
The training I received for the Writing Tutor project was incredibly interesting in terms of the range of different processes in writing that you can go through.
Writing, although a lot of us think of it as a very lonely activity, it is fundamentally conversation with another person. And I think that's one of the great benefits of a peer writing tutor project, is that students are actually able to converse about their writing with another person.
We started with the why. So not just how to write, but why is it that we write? And we had a discussion about this in class.
One way we motivated students to be interested in writing is simply the fact that we used peers. In fact, students are often more motivated to learn if they're learning from a peer than from a teacher.
Having that peer setting helped me focus because there was no longer that pressure from, your professor or from someone up above to do it right from the first time.
So once we had talked about the why, I think students were more motivated to develop and learn the skills of the craft of writing and how to write better.
The writing tutor training was divided into 2 sections. The first section we focused on what good writing is.
After Ladaea had trained the tutors, they ran a small workshop. So there was 1 tutor and about 5 incoming new students. And we gave them a bunch of materials, so they had examples of good papers from previous years to use as a model. They had rubrics to assess themselves and each other's work, so we were really clear about what we wanted them to achieve. And the tutors had been trained by Ladaea in how to give productive and constructive feedback that helped their writing improve.
And that's something that I had no exposure to and just assumed that I was good at that before having done this writing tutor training.
We also talked about what good feedback is and made the differentiation between giving feedback as an editor or giving feedback as a reader. So as readers, they were taught to give feedback and prioritize big picture stuff.
The amount of feedback that we were able to give to the students was a lot more than we ever received as students ourselves. So it was really nice to actually encourage them to write better, but at the same time it helped me understand how to write better because I had to justify the feedback that I was giving.
So these were 3-hour sessions that were run very interactively, and the students were discussing and critiquing each other's work, had a chance to ask questions, to make clarifications.
Before, most of the peer review had been kind of a one-time thing, and this was more of an ongoing process. It was a lot more comprehensive.
This made the process of writing more visible to them and made them realize that this is something that's ongoing.
I've noticed that the students who've gone through this peer writing tutoring project, that they talk a lot more about writing than other groups of students.
Writing well is a really time-intensive proposition, and as any professor knows who's graded a mountain of papers, it really takes a lot of time to give meaningful feedback that actually helps students become better writers, but that's just what it takes.